Before you start skipping around, I want to mention that the 8 choice builds use very few cards from the first set. So for those of you who can't find or can't afford a Volume 1 playset or the Volume 1 staples, this deck may be the one for you. My build uses 2 trial deck cards and 2 cheap Volume 1 cards. Anyone who knows me would tell you that I am a huge slime fan, probably the biggest Rimmer simp they've ever seen. It's an actual obsession, and I have spent a lot of time building and rebuilding slime decks, partially due to that. With the imminent release of Volume 2 in English, this will be a great chance to tech one of my all-time favorite WeisSacks. This is a build that I topped my locals with. I will say now that I don't use the Ranga and Xion early play package, because it doesn't feel very good to me. I feel like the resources are better used elsewhere, especially since this deck is insanely aggro and would just as soon kill the opponent while they are level 2, as opposed to using early plays to push for damage. I will mention that I don't net deck. My decks are very much built for myself and my playstyle, and I make choices because of that some would find odd. But the skeleton of this deck should be a great starting point for anyone not familiar with Volume 2. As usual, I will link to the deck on EncoreDecks in the description. So, our first set is a set 1 staple from the trial deck, Rimuru Tempest. My boy's self-titled card is a very strong addition to any deck as it provides 2 ditch outs. The first effect lets you top check, and if that card is a character, you can add it to your hand and then ditch a card. Then the second effect lets you ditch a Climax to salvage a character. This is a very good card to try to fix that Climax screw you just got on your mulligan, while also possibly letting you grab your level 1 game. I play this as a 2-0 because of the strength of the card at all levels. I would run more if I could, but in the end, it is a tech card for tech's sake. Next up is the first card from the booster, Last Journey Shizu. Shizu is a Climax swapper. I'm all about Climax swappers and almost always include at least one in any deck if it's possible and feasible. The Climax swap effect means that you can pay 1 stock and ditch a Climax from your hand to salvage a Climax from your waiting room. Her other effect lets you top check up to 2 cards on attack, leave one of those on top of the deck, and ditch the rest. So this can help you get the Climax that you need while also basically letting you dig for your preferred trigger or just to mill a card off your deck. I play this as a 1 of out of necessity because I just can't find a room to add a second one. And the last card from set 1, this is Child on the Inside Millen. Our favorite Dragonoid is a level 0 bomb as well as a stock flip. Being a level 0, the stock flip is a 3 cost on play. I play her as a 1 of a threat and a promise of stock building decks. The bomb effect is mainly just a bonus. And now we have our Brainstorm. This is Rimuru for my friends. Rimuru is a tap self search Brainstorm. Yes, Rimuru finally has a functional Brainstorm for husbando decks. He can also pump one of your character's 500 power when the battle opponent of your other character becomes reversed. I run Rimuru as a 4-0 because I feel like the Brainstorm is very important in this deck, as is filling your board with cards at level 1. This is also the early play condition for a level 3 card that we will see a little later on. Up next, we have another Millen. This is Milim, it's good. And being Milim, of course, she is eating. Milim is a very powerful card in most slime decks right now. Her first effect gives her 2,000 power if all of your characters are on trait, which means that she's always 3,500 base power across turn because everything is on trait in the set. She also runs to combat, so at the beginning of the opponent's attack phase, she can move to a slot that has a character across from it. Yes, this card would be much stronger if it got +1 level, but the easy condition is why she doesn't get a level 1. I run this as a 4-0 for 2 reasons. First is that it's a very strong card at level 0 that can beat over a lot of level 0 cards. It can deny the opponent a reverse at level 1. And can even beat over cards at level 1 to the tune of 5,500 power, maybe more. The second reason I run this as a 4-0 is because I own 4-0 the SP, and I love to flex it. Next is Rimuru Triumph. This Rimuru is a clean cut, and much better than the set 1 clean cut. Rimuru is a Rem clean cut, meaning that on play you top check, and if that card is a character, it gets a level and 1,500 power until the end of the turn. becoming a 3500 power level 1 card. Typically a very strong card on first deck since you haven't refreshed yet, and so with the reduced compression, typically a very good chance to hit a character. Then the clean cut effect says that when Rimuru reverses his opponent, you can choose one of your characters, rest it, and move it to the back row. Basically, it turns cards like your Brainstorm or your Bomb into a free stock, since even if it gets reversed, you can just rest it and send it to the back row. Or if his back row is full, you can just rest it because you have to complete as much of the effect as you can. I run this Rimuru as a 4-of. It's a very strong card that can beat over for 3500 power to more than 5500 power later in the game if needed. It can also basically revive something that crashes in and can't be bombed by level 0s. And it provides information as well, assuming of course that the top check succeeds. You get the information, you get the power, you get the level, you get everything. Another card that I own 4 of the SP, and so of course I want to flex all 4 of them whenever I can. And our final level 0 card. Have one more melon. This is probably one of the most important cards in the deck. This is Tyrant of Destruction Melon. This card is just stupid good in this deck. Our first effect gives her 3000 power on your turn if there's another on-trait character, so she gets a 4k beater just because. Our second effect is Twin Drive. So on attack, you can pay 1 stock to trigger twice. This is an awesome card in 8 choice. I often wind up swinging for 6000 power with her, possibly more, depending on my game state, while also getting to Twin Drive, which not only allows me to push for extra damage, but it also lets me bank extra resources for an expensive endgame by increasing the chance to trigger a choice. And of course, she lets me pay out Climax as triggered in a previous swing. This card is an easy 4-of, since playing her on your kill turn is a very viable strategy. And moving into level 1, we're going to go straight into our Climax combo. This is Shion, Decapitating Demon Blade. Obviously, it's on a choice since the deck is 8 choice. She gets 1000 power if all characters are on trait, so she's always 5500. Her Climax combo is a salvage on attack, not salvage on reverse. So of course it has a limited requirement. Her combo requires that you have a full board, so you need 4 or more other characters on the stage. This is a significant part of the reason why I run 20 level 0s and 4 Brainstorms in this deck. Having a full board is extremely important at level 1 to ensure that Shion can get her salvage. Being the level 1 plusing combo, of course I run her as a 4-of, along with 4 of her choice Climax. Next card is Rimuru, Prolonged Battle. This is very much a tech card. The first effect is anti-memory. Both players have to ditch down to 4 cards in memory if they have 5 or more. The other effect lets you ditch a card from hand when this is played to play level 0 directly to the stage from the waiting room. This functions both as a ditch outlet and as a way to get your Brainstorm, or just any other level 0 card on the stage from the waiting room. It could also be a big help at level 1 to get that 4th card on the board for Shion level 1 combo. I play the Rimuru as a 2-of because, again, it is tech. Only tech. Next is another linchpin of the deck. This is Hakuro Sordina. Hakuro is a level assist, but his other effects are why he exists. When you trigger Yellow Climax, if he has 1 or fewer markers, you can choose any card in your waiting room, place it under him face up as a marker, then during your main phase you can pay a stock and ditch 2 markers from under him to add any yellow card in your waiting room to your hand. This card can conceivably allow you to leave a card under him that you need later in the game, for instance the level 3 combo. And then you can use the effect to ditch that and add it to your hand. It also adds marker compression. And since you can add any yellow card off of the second effect, you can also grab either choice Climax on demand. Some people run this as a 2-of. I run it as a 3-of because I'm being cautious. I want to make sure I can get it when I need it and get it on the stage. But running it as a 2-of is also a very viable strategy. My final level 1 card is another Hakuro, and it's very much a me kind of card. This is Hakuro Before Dinner. This is very much, like I said, it's very much a me card. The first effect lets you reveal top, and if it's a character, Hakuro gets an extra soul, so he becomes a 2-soul beater, letting me push for extra damage. And the second effect is a cost 0 stock bomb. Both effects align with my aggressive playstyle, both allowing me to push for extra damage, while also possibly removing an annoying card from the opponent's stage. I run Hakuro as a 3-of. Both of these Hakuros I am considering dropping down to 2, because there are some other cards that I want to add in, especially at level 3. And this version of the deck has no level 2 cards, so we will go to level 3. And we will start with the early play healer. This is Shuna, Full of Joy. Shuna gets to play at level 2 if you have 4 or more characters on the stage. She's also a healer, and she gets 2k power until the end of your opponent's turn. So, basically, a clone of the Toka early play healer from Data Live. I run Shuna as a 2-of, because sometimes, I mean, it's nice having the early play healer if I need it, but I often just forgo playing her at all. I just push myself to level 3 to try to wreck my opponent. Next up is the other early play that I run. This is Hakuro, Brilliant Sword Judgment. Hakuro can be played at level 2 if you have the Rimuru Brainstorm in your clock. On play, you draw 2, ditch 2, and blind stock, so not only does he early play for 1 stock, but he's also a very strong ditch outlet. Then, on attack, he can also pump another character or any character, by 1500 power on attack, providing a bit of oomph when required. I run Sakura as a 2-of because it's primarily tech. He digs, he adds power, stuff like that, and it's basically a 1-stock beater. He can also help you get your end game through that digging, grabbing your climax, whatever else, and that ditch 2 can also be helpful for the end game because cards that you need to have in your waiting room for your level 3 combo, you can get them into the waiting room with this very easily. Next, we have one of my favorite Rimuru cards. This is Rimuru, Can't You Hear Me? Aside from the epic art, this card gets 500 power for each other character, so he's sitting on the board at 12k just for existing on a full stage. But even more importantly, when he attacks, you can choose any card in your opponent's waiting room and put it on the top or the bottom of their deck. This effect, it has so many uses, including basically guaranteeing a kill shot. This is one of my favorite cards to have in the waiting room for the level 3 Climax Combo because of that. I run this as a 2-of because it's a really situational card, and I can't find room for such a situation, more of this card. It's just so situational. And we come to the end, and the level 3 Climax Combo. It's one of my favorite cards in all of Weiss Schwarz. A card with super cute art in both RR and SP forms, and of course, yes, I do own 4 of the SP. This is Rimuru Figure Received. I love this card, and certain people at my locals hate it. They hate it so much that they started packing memory counters specifically to deal with it. Rimuru's first effect is a heal that lights on play from hand, and also on play from the waiting room, if you do that using his Climax Combo. The second effect is a Climax Combo. At the end of his attack, you can pay 3 stock, ditch 1 card, and send him to memory. If that cost is paid, then you mill 2 from the top of your deck. If those cards are both characters and or yellow climaxes, then you can choose any character in your waiting room to place on the stage in the same slot that Rimuru was before he went to memory. The effect is just dumb. If things go well, you can actually get 7 swings at your opponent with this Climax Combo. Now, granted, it requires a good amount of stock and plenty of hand, but that is one of the reasons why we run 3 to 4 of the Twin Drive Milim level 0. If you manage to play this Rimuru alongside 2 of those Milims, you're getting at least 5 triggers before you even start his Climax Combo. So you're just sitting there digging and digging for more choice triggers to try to grab the stock or the hand that you are missing the full combo. And of course, triggering those, you're going to pay them out because each time you do get a Rimuru off, you are paying out 3 stock. This is also why I run the red Rimuru from before. It's a great way to end this combo string by throwing damage on top of the opponent's deck and siding against a level 1 or 2 for exact or almost exact lethal. And this also brings us back to the Hakuro level assist, where you can store the level 3 Rimuru or the choice Climax. And honestly, if you're at level 2 and you know you're probably going to level 3, trigger, okay, cool. You've got both of these under Hakuro. And so you hit level 3 on your opponent's turn after you've already refreshed. You know, nothing good in your waiting room anymore because you refreshed. Well, guess what? You do Hakuro's effect. These go to the waiting room. Add this to your hand. And this is here. So you are ready to start chaining Rimurus. The card is both a Rimuru and aggressive as hell, and I love it. And there are literally dozens of ways you can play this with the rest of the cards in the deck to push for game while the opponent is still level 2. As a level 3 Climax combo, obviously I'm running this as a 4-of. I'm also considering changing the ratios on the Hakuros, all 3 of them actually. There's a couple cards that I'm considering adding, both for their effects and to get more soul triggers in the deck since it's 8 choice. I'm considering adding the new level 3 Benny Maru. It's a red card that gives 1500 power to all other characters. It also has a pay 2 to burn 1 on reverse effect. The extra power can help avoid things like memory counters, since Rimuru is only 10k. Even with Hakuro and the Climax, he's only running 12.5. But if you get that Benny Maru on the board, Rimuru is running 14k. So he is uncounterable with typical 3k memory counters if you're swinging into a level 3 that's only 9, 9, 5, 10k. The other one that I'm considering is the set 1 Milim level 3 that on play she top checks, and if it's a character, I believe you burn 1, and then she can also clock kick. Both of these together, maybe one of each, could actually be a very interesting way to close out a game. Let's say I went off 7 swings, got all 4 Rimurus sitting up in memory. And, as has happened to me a couple times, opponent decides to quint cancel. Okay, they're still alive, but they're just barely still alive. And you survive. Well, you don't have these anymore. So, if you have any stock left, you grab the Benny Maru and or the Milim, get them on the board. Your opponent's running 3-4, 3-5, 3-6. These burn 1s and clock kicks are going to be great for trying to close out the game. So, in closing, you can see why I said that this deck wants to kill its opponent while they're level 2. If it runs properly, you're going to get 7 swings, including 4 heals, and possibly an unavoidable side attack, or a burn 1, or a clock kick, or something like that for exact lethal at the very end of the chain. I may be biased due to my obsession with all things Rimuru, but this is one of my all-time favorite decks because it is so fun to play. So, that's it. I will probably have another video coming up here this week or next week, but that's it for now. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and you can leave any constructive or funny comments.